Pellichoopulu came to me at a time in my life when I was just generally open to acting again.
Right.
I just opened up that aspect in my mind or consciousness.
Correct.
So the fact that and Tarun was very confident. I insisted. I told Tarun just because they just called and said you have to do the role. I said no, let me come and read the lines and you see it for yourself because I need you to be confident. And he really didn't want to. He was like, no sir, I'm sure you'll pull it off. I said I don't know if I can pull it off.
Talking about Godavari, the pitch or the tourism advertisement for the whole Papikondalu tour.
I'm very, very proud of it because if somebody were to ask whether any cinema that you've done, has it had any social or cultural change?
Right.
And I think Godavari did. That was the place to be kind of seen. Like if you are going out with friends and you want to meet some cute girls or something like that was the place. It was a mini Archie's kind of. In the Pakkana, there used to be a fantasy bakery / ice cream parlor.
Okay.
Where all the teenage guys would hang out, hoping some girl would come. So social networking was like that.
Correct.
See, for me, cinema is something I've not been anything else apart from being a filmmaker. And I say that filmmaking is not a profession.
Right.
Filmmaking is a way of life.
Correct.
You just don't. It's not like I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm a driver. I think for me, filmmaking is a way of life. Your outlook to life, your emancipation with the world.
Everybody has some sort of an issue connection, right? Yeah. Someone who's from the city and all.
Yeah.
So they have some friend, they crash onto their hostel or something.
Yeah.
So talking about the city, how was Hyderabad growing up and the culture of watching movies, and what were your preferred single screen theatres or per se?
See, I think back in the day, going to the cinema was an event.
Right.
You know. Yes. I think you can divide your childhood into two parts. One is where your parents used to take you to films.
Right.
So obviously those choices were, driven by whether that film was an event film.
Correct.
Like I remember watching Chota Chetan when it first came out. Kutti Chetan, I think it's called in Malayalam. I think the Hindi version was called Chota Chetan. That was a huge phenomenon. I mean, for anyone who had just until that point of time gone to a cinema theatre and just seen an image on screen, to suddenly see a 3D projection from a 2D to 3D projection, it is insane. Like you can imagine people going crazy, trying to put their hands up in the air, trying to hold the popcorn. I don't think you can recreate that kind of communal magic in a film theatre anymore. That innocence is kind of gone. And we can always romanticize about the decades that have gone by and everything like that. I think our generation, the present generation, should find new ways to romanticize things which are essential. I think we should find ways to value cultural events like going to a movie and stuff like that. I think obviously a different time, lesser things to distract you.
Right.
I was saying how we divided my film journey would be like movies that my parents took me to and movies that I would take my friends to, which would be all about birthday treat. 8th class, 9th class నుంచి ఇంకా కొంచెం ఒక allowance ఇచ్చి some cash in your hands, treating friends to a film, and which will be typically a Jackie Chan film, or any action film.
Right.
That is another process of your relationship with cinema.
Correct. And where would you watch these English or Jackie Chan
films? For me, my mecca was Sangeeth.
Okay.
Sangeeth theatre was the absolute oasis, mecca of anything and everything cultural. Because it was not just a very well designed theatre with fantastic acoustics and sound system. The kind of movies that they would bring, from America, and later even a lot of mainstream Hindi films. That was the place to be kind of seen. Like if you are going out with friends and you want to meet some cute girls or something like that. That was the place. It was a mini Archie's kind of. In the Pakkana, there used to be a fantasy bakery / ice cream parlor.
Okay.
Where all the teenage guys would hang out, hoping some girl would come. And so social networking was like that. Pakkane Archie's greeting card shop unde. So you're hopping between the Archie's greeting card shop and the fantasy restaurant, which would have like ice cream cola or some fountain cola or something like that. And then Sangeeth theatre itself with its salty popcorn, and so these are just small little. And of course, you're trying to be, well groomed and well dressed, and hoping to go out there and see someone
Your best
pretty.
version out there.
Yeah. So it was a social hub of teenagers, young adults, and even older people. See, depending on the kind of movie, the draw of audiences would be different. So a Jackie Chan film would typically have younger kids and stuff like that.
Right.
But a more mainstream, maybe I don't know, a film which. Of course, Jurassic Park, when it came out, it became huge. A family event. You would see families and families. So you would go there knowing, that a certain film attracted a certain kind of a crowd. And it's multicultural here. I mean, soon they started playing even Hindi films. For Hindi films, our preferences would be Maheshwari Parmeshwari. Those twin theatres, 35 and 71. Like I remember 97 when DDLJ Dilwale was first coming out. Went there on a Monday, did the advance booking for that Friday for the morning show. It was me, my mom, and my sister who went to watch. So different theatres would mean different kind of
energy and
different preparation for it. So yeah, see, for me, it's all about these different pockets in Hyderabad and the kind of experiences each of those pockets of cinema, would bring to you. So if Maheshwari Parmeshwari was actually a very elite theatre, beautifully done up with ornate designs, and you're walking into a very, very. At that point of time, there were escalators and 2 levels. And parking and stuff like that. It was a premium theatre going experience. Just like Sangeeth by itself also was, although it was just one single theatre. There was something very, very beautiful about the upholstery, just the mehak, the essence and smell of that place, the thrill of watching the curtains closed and then seeing it kind of come open. There's a whole lot of drama.
Exactly.
See, you don't go into a theatre anymore where the screens are kind of closed.
Yes.
And then you see a light that is projected. That says now showing. And then the screens open up. So there is It's an event by, chapter 1 is sitting there talking to people, this and that, waiting for the sheer curtains. Suddenly there's a light. So there's a... And then, of course, the number of ads that one would see. Even back then, it was Vico Vijayanti and all that stuff. And, so many things to romanticize. I mean, snacks would come to you. You wouldn't have to go. You'd have people coming in with crates of cool drinks going, tring, 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 with their this thing. And you'd beg your parents to,
please give me.
So, that romance is missing, that larger than life, where have I been, what am I looking at, that experience of singularly, being captive in a place and coming back. See, our experiences were singular experiences.
Correct.
We were all watching one singular television channel.
Yeah.
We were watching the same programs.
The number of avenues were less comparatively.
So we are sharing experiences which are the same for the other person.
They would all resonate together and similar worldviews.
Today somebody is into Korean, somebody else is into manga, and somebody else is into Iranian cinema, which is great. I mean, the world is opened up. The world wasn't that open back then, and it's okay. I mean, I like it when there are groups of cinephiles and people I think podcasters. I think especially are for me an important community because they keep the cultural communication happening. Otherwise, who's having conversations?
Right.
Who gets to share anything? So So your question was, what was the theatre experience like? It was in my mind's eye. It was an extremely romantic sort of time spent with friends and family. You can dive into it, like write a book about it.
we can just go about it continuously. So,
You were saying that in 97 you were watching with parents and everything. Wasn't that the time when you started your debuting in AD? Was it?
Yeah, 97 I was in final year of college. That's when I kind of broke into the film industry as a production assistant.
Right.
Production assistant is generally your menial first level entry job.
correct.
So you're doing everything from, picking up your boss's kid from school to, chaperoning an actor who's just landed in the airport and checking them into a hotel. You're doing all the menial work while also being, involved and exposed to the process of.
Right.
Back then, the production company I was working on, they used to make music videos.
Okay.
So that was fun because every project would be.
The journey with Lucky Ali.
Yeah, that's where it all began with Lucky Ali. That was literally the first project I worked on. I worked on as an extra. I play one of Lucky Ali's friends in that, and I also worked as an AD. So yeah, great experience really. Got very lucky working.
So how did that segue into Dollar Dreams and you meeting Mr. Sekhar Kammula, and how did that happen and your continuous collaboration?
Well, I think I started off in 97 and a year or so later I worked with, I had gone to the premiere of Hyderabad Blues, which was directed by Anish Kuruvilla. That was a phenomenal, that independent film was a huge breakthrough.
Right.
Nobody had made a English, Hindi, Telugu sort of a
Right,
film.
just
that
double clicking on it, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
How was the indie scene in the Telugu space during the early 2000s? What was happening during that time? And
So I think Hyderabad Blues was the precursor to the indie movement. Not
Okay.
specifically Telugu cinema.
okay.
Because Dollar Dreams would be the next authentic sort of independent Telugu cinema which was made.
Right.
Because you could still say that, Hyderabad Blues was bilingual in the sense it was
Correct.
Hyderabadi Hindi and some Telugu. But mostly it kind of was Hindi and English.
Correct.
But when Dollar Dreams came out, it was a more authentic sort of representation of, not authentic, a different representation of culture here in Hyderabad at that time.
Correct.
With the IT boom taking off, with H1 visas and everybody everyone was making those big choices about whether they should leave the country or stay back.
Yeah.
So that was and when the Kargil war was, breaking out. So it was a very heady time, post liberalization and everything. It was a time when I think people were thinking about their relationship with their own country and
Correct.
Whether it should. So that Dollar Dreams captured that mood, and I think soon after there were films like Aite and all that followed.
Films and
Mr. Yeladi's films. Those were the early sort of early movers in the indie space. And of course, the Dakkani Hyderabadi cinema also took off in the early 2000s. So I think these were the initial sort of films. Dollar Dreams followed by Aite and then the Dakkani films.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was happening. So further resuming, you were talking about Hyderabad Blues and then Sekhar Kammula. So
Yeah. Oh yeah, Sekhar I just met at a mutual friend's place. I was hanging out at a friend's place and I was introduced to him by my friend. We were in the same apartment and he had just come back from America and I had just finished working on Nagesh Kunu's Rock film. So I had some indie film experience behind me and he was looking to make his first indie film. And we just got talking. And like any friends who just start talking to you about, hey, I've just come back, I'm trying to make a film and you've done something before, so we just shared our experiences and it just came together. Soon we were casting. Sekhar had very little money to make the film with, and we just a bunch of us collaborated on the film. We were casting people that we knew. We would call, ask them to come to the apartment. We would do we just had a small little place in Padmarao Nagar. It just started from a very sort of simple. It might be like this, 3-4 people in a room thinking about making a film, going and having a meal or having cup of coffee. So it kind of just started from there, and I think, Shekhar had a wonderful script written, and he has an eye for dialogues, and he has an eye for picking a good cast. So it slowly kind of came together. Before we knew it, we were all doing little workshops and stuff like that. And I think in about 18 days, we just shot the whole film. In his house, in my house, in our friend's house, in our colonies, in our lanes.
So the terrace is your house, or is it Mr.
There are so many terraces in that film. No, that main terrace is Shekhar's.
Okay.
That is the opening of the film, right? That's Shekhar's terrace. There's later on in a sequence in the film which happens on a terrace, like a dinner party. That's my terrace. So we just shot in each other's homes. In fact, we would shoot the film and have a meal. His mom would cook something for us. So it was, I don't think we can make films like that. And also keeping a count on, the amount of film stock we're using up, because film is very expensive. It's not like digital that you can randomly shoot. So you had to be extremely disciplined about. See, you're not dealing with 1 terabyte of memory and multiple takes and angles. Every time you didn't get it right, it would really hurt you. It's like, oh my god, I messed this up. Because one magazine of film would cost you 10 grand back in the day. And that's like 400 feet would give you just about 4 minutes of screen time.
Right.
So in that 4 minutes of screen time, you don't want to bullshit your way through anything. No? You want to be precise about your blocking. You want to be precise about your lines. I think that core discipline has been kind of lost in today's time. And we tend to kind of, just keep the camera rolling and kind of have performances. So yeah, coming back to Shekhar, like that's how our collaboration began, and that led to Anand and Godavari and Happy Days, and it's been one of the most enriching experiences.
Talking about Godavari, the pitch or the tourism advertisement for the whole Papikondalu tour.
I'm very, very proud of it, because if somebody were to ask whether any cinema that you've done, has it had any social or cultural change?
Right.
And I think Godavari did, because when we were shooting, when we had decided to shoot the film in
you were an AD and an EP as well, right?
Yeah, I was the chief AD and the EP on the film.
Okay.
And there was no concept of boats taking tourists to Bhadrachalam. That concept was not there. It perhaps was there in a very sort of micro level as some launches, but it was not a realized sort of an idea. So this idea, which was on a script paper, was realized into an actual kind of. We built a set, we remodeled a boat, we then built on top of it, and we created this mythical kind of a Godavari boat that takes people from Rajahmundry to Bhadrachalam. The experience of shooting on that river for about 100 days is truly humbling, and I think it's the highlight of my filmmaking career, because the logistics involved in taking 100 odd people upstream and then downstream every single day for 110 days, I think.
Oh God.
And not, the risk of accidents is so huge. Anybody could fall in the river and anybody could have injured themselves, but nothing of that sort ever happened. Shooting in the river in the middle of the night, you give in to the river. You think the river is the mother, she'll take care of you.
Right.
And sometimes when you look at the river, it looks like you're actually gliding on a huge big snake. It feels like that when the water is placid. And beautiful moments that we've spent. I don't think any unit has worked like this together, cast and crew. There were nights, a couple of nights we just all slept on iska dabbas there. Endukante poddune sunrise ki shot padali avanni no, you can't take the boat back from Papikondalu to Rajahmundry and check into your hotel and come back. It's just not possible. Every morning we would drive for about 45 minutes to our location, then get on the boat and then move upstream. So it was a gigantic logistical effort and physically very, very challenging. And I was heading that production, and and I really think it's one of my life's most fulfilling kind of projects. The social cultural change that after the movie came out, tourism took off in such a huge way as a concept, and I'm so proud of that. That we literally opened up an industry.
Probably that is the byproduct. I remember going to Papikondalu. My dad, my family, along with few of his friends,
Right.
there were a bunch of families we went to.
Right.
Probably that was acting in their subconscious, and that's why we chose to go there.
True.
So
Yeah.
probably thank you to you and Sekhar Kammula.
So our experience with your acting starts with Pellichoopulu.
Pellichoopulu.
When I watched it, I've seen him somewhere, but when I rewatching Anand, I realized that this is the same actor shit, man. So he changed a lot, but in between he stopped acting.
Yeah.
For 15-16 years.
Yeah.
So what just happened there?
Nothing happened there. I mean, I think I was never. It's not like I was ever offered anything after Anand.
Okay.
And my core interest and focus has always been directing.
Okay.
So I just went back to doing that. I
Made a series.
Well, I directed avakaibiryani, which was my first film, and then koanteykoti. So I was kind of really occupied with my filmmaking career, and I didn't really. The prerequisites for an actor back in early 2000, like for the kind of role that I did in Anand, I don't think. Typically, if you were to play a friend in the early 2000s in Telugu film cinema, the friend character really wouldn't have much to do with it. He'd just be hanging around with a book or something.
Correct.
And basically encouraging the hero to patao ladki ko water. So I don't think that's something that even if somebody were to have offered it to me, it's something that I could kind of gravitate towards doing. So it's not a conscious decision not to act. I think maybe I had a few offers that came my way, but maybe it just seemed like something I didn't connect with them. I don't remember.
Right.
But yeah, instead I was just occupied being an EP and directing my films. And
At
stuff
this point, what is your process of selecting scripts? What do you look for in a script?
It shouldn't be anything that I've ever done before.
Right.
It's as simple as that. I just simply cannot ever redo something which I've already done.
Okay.
So if if you look at my filmography, avakaibiryani, koanteykoti, Gods of Dharmapuri, and now there are 2 projects coming out this year. One of which I'm dubbing for right now. So they're all in sort of different genres and different spaces. For me as an actor, the promise of the story should be like it should be frightening. How can I do it? But it should be exciting also. Like if I do this, then my life for the next year is an adventure. So I pick the scripts based on, I want my life experience to be a nice adventure for the next year and a half. So when I give myself into that storytelling, I have in my head I'm designing. Okay, I know that the next year and a half of my life is going to be an adventure about telling this kind of story. So that's what I pick. It has to be challenging. It has to be a little frightening. Overall, it should seem very, very exciting. What draws you as to a story is something. It's different for every individual here.
Correct.
But this is what excites me.
Right.
As a filmmaker. I have to something a little deviant. Yeah.
But one common thread is that among all these different roles, you usually get offered these roles where you are English speaking, very well learned. You usually know English, and these are the characters you get. It is usually an urban setup. You're a chief minister or an officer or something like. Why do you think is the reason?
No, it's obvious. Like I've had a very urban kind of upbringing, and Telugu is not my native language. My roots are in Kerala, so I didn't grow up. So I'm a very hybrid sort of a urban hybrid individual, I think. So I would love to think that I can play a very rustic character, but it will need a great director to push me in that direction, and a great role that I can challenge myself up with and really prepare for. As an actor, you really, I wish I was the kind of actor who could pick what role comes my way, but it's not as easy or simple as that.
True.
Having said that, I pick projects based on even if it is a similar character I've played before, I'm drawn to what the director has to say or how different perhaps the story can be. So in my own way as an actor, I've tried to attach myself to kind of weird off-kilter kind of projects. Like there was a movie I did called Mada, and then there was a film called Accidental Prime Minister which I did, then Tiger 3. So I'm kind of swinging in all directions based on not really gravitating towards what is a big budget film or So I don't mind playing the urban English speaking characters if I'm doing it well.
Correct.
But yeah, one would always love more variety and stuff like that. So yeah.
So going back to Pelli Choopulu, since there was a big break, what compelled you and what did tharunbhascker convince you that you did Pelli Choopulu? And also, what is the difference between the directors who came around the early 2000s and the new age directors, which you particularly notice?
See, I think Pelli Choopulu came to me at a time in my life when I was just generally open to acting again.
Right.
I just opened up that aspect in my mind or consciousness.
Correct.
So the fact that and Tarun was very confident. I insisted. I told Tarun just because they just called and said you have to do the role. I said no, let me come and read the lines and you see it for yourself because I need you to be confident. And he really didn't want to. He was like, no sir, I'm sure you'll pull it off. I said I don't know if I can pull it off. So I insisted on him actually because it had been a while for me too. See, I don't know if there is any marked difference between new age directors and directors from that time. I think even today you will find directors who you might be like you're like dated back in the day, dude. Like why haven't you updated yourself?
Correct.
You new age filmmakers are very driven. They seem to have an extremely clear idea about what they want to do. Some of them take a lot of risks, and some of them don't want to go out of their comfort zone also. So you might be young and new age, but your tendency to veer towards a certain kind of storytelling versus see, I think we are at that tipping point,
Correct,
I think it might be just around the corner where, we have so much talent out there. And I think it's, if opportunities are given to more young filmmakers to really tell the stories they want to tell, which is not driven by those commercial parameters, which is not driven by what a protagonist only should be like. We have to I feel like we are not yet breaking it. We are talking about it. We are on the cusp of it, but
Correct.
that revolution hasn't really kind of happened. Like say Malayalam cinema,
Right.
where
Exactly.
every week somebody is trying to do something different. That has not yet happened here, and I'm hoping. I think we are kind of headed in that direction, but it needs more of a push. And so I look to young filmmakers to produce those kind of stories and have the desire to tell those kind of stories. So, yeah.
So, in such an unorganized industry, if we call it an industry, how do you find work, like continuously find work? There are a lot of people who don't get work in hand. So, do you adapt accordingly or open up your avenues? So, how did you survive for so long, where a lot of people might have faded, but you are still relevant and working in the industry very actively in with multiple hats?
That's a tough question to answer. I think
you can say what worked for you probably.
Yeah, it's hard to be, because I think everyone tries their best to kind of survive in this industry.
Correct.
See, it is a challenging kind of a place. Success is when you have a success, it opens so many doors for you. But when you have failures, suddenly it's life is impossible.
Right.
And getting a job is impossible. So I've seen all those sides. I've understood what it feels like to have or be a part of something that is very successful, and I also know what it means to be as a part of something which was a failure which was a commercial failure. So having experienced both of that, I think what I have been lucky with is filmmaking is eventually a collaborative experience.
Correct.
We all are here to be famous and make some money, but that can't be the driving factors for you. What has to be a driving factor for you is to see whether you are really pushing the boundary as a creative artist. Are you really trying to express something which is original and new? Are you really doing all that you can to collaborate deeply and truthfully with people? Are you nothing should be bigger than cinema. In the project, it is the story and the project that you're doing that should matter more than individuals.
Correct.
So I think I've been lucky that I've found myself in these pockets and spaces, and I have been driven by a slightly different maybe value chain, where fame and money, that's a great byproduct, but that is not the driving force. The driving force is to try and be a part of some good storytelling.
Correct.
Try and surround yourself with people who are also creative, who are driven by or share the same kind of moral value that you bring to your craft.
Correct.
See, for me, cinema is something I've not been anything else apart from being a filmmaker. And I say that filmmaking is not a profession. Filmmaking is a way of life.
Correct.
You just don't. It's not like I'm a doctor, I'm an engineer, I'm a driver. I think for me, filmmaking is a way of life. Your outlook to life, your emancipation with the world, your sensitivity to culture and politics and society and individuals and criticism and racism and sexism and gender and every minutiae of society, every fabric of your existence, what is your overall purpose, your relationship with the cosmos. I mean, I feel like if you're not a philosopher, if you're not a poet, if you're not somebody who's waking up every day with a creative need to want to do this, to have to do this, then I feel like, that's how I'm built. Like for me, that is my kind of driving force, and maybe it's one of the reasons why I have been able to stay on as long as I have. But it's not been easy. There've been days and nights and years and months when things have looked bleak and dark and doors have closed and you're on the verge of bankruptcy. You have nothing with you, so you become very humble and you become very sensitive to individuals and people. You become more grounded, and in that process, if you're able to mature and grow, you find yourself telling stories which are truly enriching. You find yourself having collaborations with other artists which are truly enriching, and then slowly you build on that, and that value, I think audiences begin to see that he's saying something, or he's behaving in a certain way, or he's projecting something which is of some original value. So I don't know, it is hard to, one can theorize it in many ways, and I can't quantify, because I feel like there's no time to look back also. I'm constantly looking forward, I'm constantly in the present, and I've always felt like a bit of an imposter syndrome, like, wow, I get to do this is my job, I go to work like this, I'm a filmmaker. Really, sometimes I pinch myself 25 years later also, like, wow, I'm doing this. So I don't know, I'm wired like this, not everyone is wired like me, but I think I draw myself to other people who are have similar amount of craziness or something in their head. So
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
On that note, really well put, sir. Thank you for your time in such a busy schedule as well.
No worries
It's
at
a
all,
delight
man.
talking to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was wonderful to talk
Are
to
you
you guys.
directing something now, sir? No.
Yeah, I am actually. That's where I am.
Okay.
That's what
Coming
you're
in
doing.
out of,
It's your
it's a sci-fi drama.
Oh,
It's a show that we made for Disney.
Okay.
Oh, is it?
So today we're just testing some voices and stuff like
Okay, nice.
that. And there's also a little indie film that I made,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a feel-good kind of a space. So hopefully both these projects will come out soon. Yeah.
So that craziness for direction is always there.
It's always been a...
Yeah. I mean, that's my default. I think like a.
ఇవన్నీ డిఫరెంట్ అవతారాలు this is the main hat you want to put.
Yeah. I know. I mean, I just call myself filmmakers. Filmmaker is somebody
Correct.
who's collaborating on a story, who's developing a story, who's trying to produce something, who's acting, who's directing. I think the term filmmaker kind of encompasses all of that. Cool, guys. Thank you so much.